Strategic, not random, flaunting. When we think of luxury on social media, the first image is clear. A feed full of trips, cars, restaurants, shopping, pure flaunting. Recent studies on Instagram show exactly that. Exposure to influencers triggers social comparison, FOMO, and a craving for conspicuous consumption of luxury products. Research from 2023-2024 indicates that the more intensely people use Instagram, the stronger the need to differentiate themselves through premium and exclusive items. Technically, this behavior is choreography, framing the logo, the label, the view, the glass, tagging the right geolocation, posting at peak hours, repeating codes the audience already recognizes as life above average. It is not just showing, it is showing in a way that is legible to both the algorithm and the audience. The curiosity is that for many people, this looks spontaneous, when in practice, a portion of these posts is crafted as a personal micro-campaign, especially around travel, fashion, and luxury restaurants. Sensorially, this habit creates a kind of golden noise in the feed. Warm light, shiny surfaces, everything looking eternally polished. Fresh narrative angle. Instead of demonizing or glorifying flaunting, frame it as a language, a visual dialect that aspirational audiences copy and the elite tweaks with millimetric precision.
Staged authenticity. Vulnerable, but only up to a point. In recent years, reports on the future of luxury repeat the same word: authenticity. The high-income consumer of 2025-2026 wants brands that feel human, conscious, ethical, and they project that same demand onto people. At the same time, movements like No Buy 2025 are growing on social media, with affluent young people questioning overconsumption and calling for transparency. The behavior that emerges from this is curious. The digital elite starts alternating perfect posts with raw moments, behind the scenes, workout fails, fatigue, consumption breaks, but all still under aesthetic control. It is not full authenticity, it is edited authenticity, real enough to feel human, polished enough to remain aspirational. The subversion of expectations is here. Viewers think rich people post perfect lives, when the advanced game today is to show carefully chosen flaws that reinforce a narrative of awareness, balance, responsibility. Sensorially, this appears as a contrast in textures. A sweaty gym story right after an immaculate dinner. A didn't buy anything today from someone surrounded by expensive objects. Fresh narrative angle. Treat this staged authenticity as the new bespoke suit. It looks casual, but every line was tried on before leaving the house.
Positioned consumption, posting fewer purchases and more thesis. From 2024 to 2025 on, market reports show a shock. Younger consumers, including high-income ones, begin embracing underconsumption trends and the No Buy 2025 meme. Instead of just displaying shopping bags, this crowd starts talking about shopping pauses, timeless pieces, a focus on experiences, and environmental responsibility. And this directly changes how luxury shows up on social. Technically, the behavior shifts like this. When someone shows an expensive item, it almost always comes with a narrative justification: quality, durability, craftsmanship, ethical sourcing. It is less "look what I have" and more "look why it makes sense for me to have this in my life." This shift responds to social pressure for responsible consumption and to the fear of being read as shallow or out of touch. The curiosity is that in many circles, posting too many fragmented purchases is already being read as amateurish. The truly advanced signal is to appear selective, almost reluctant to consume. Sensorially, that person's feed feels calmer. Fewer unboxings, more close-ups of details, long captions explaining the story behind an object or experience. Fresh narrative angle.
show that the new flex is not the number of packages arriving, but the sophisticated narrative that justifies why one object earned the right to break through the "I don't buy just anything" barrier.
Double digital life, perfect public feed, chaotic finsta. One of the most secretive luxury behaviors on social is the double digital life. From the mid-2010s on, the concept of the finsta, fake Instagram, a second account used for rawer content, started to gain traction. Studies from 2023-2024 show that even influencers and public figures use these profiles as a breathing zone to escape the obligation of looking flawless all the time. Technically, it is a division of roles. The main profile is a curated shop window, personal brand, sponsorships, presentable family, trips, looks. The finsta, or a very restricted close friends list, becomes the real backstage. Frustration, inside jokes, venting, photos that would never make it to the public feed. It is a way to keep the content machine running without fully losing the feeling of spontaneity and intimacy. The curiosity the general public has no idea about. Many people who seem ultra-accessible online keep their true personality for these closed spaces. What you see on the open feed is literally a professional character. Sensorially, anyone who enters that circle notices the difference instantly. Shaky stories, rougher language, lighter filters, jokes that only make sense to a handful of people. Fresh narrative angle reveal that the apex of luxury social media behavior is not having millions of followers, but having 2 or 3 dozen people who get to see who you really are. Algorithmic exclusivity, small circles, and closed doors. Recent reports on luxury marketing point to 3 core desires of the high-income client: exclusivity, personalization, and meaningful experiences, including in the digital realm. At the same time, wealth reports show a steady increase in the number of ultra-rich worldwide, with hundreds of thousands of UHNW individuals projected by the mid-2020s. The more rich people there are, the harder it is to look exclusive. The behavior that emerges is algorithmic exclusivity. Private accounts, close friends lists, closed WhatsApp, Telegram, and Discord groups where access is not purchased, it is granted. Instead of opening their entire life to the algorithm, these people carefully choose who sees what, turning their timeline into a semi-invisible members club. The curiosity is that for this crowd, posting little in public does not mean being less active. It means using social platforms as if they were multiple overlapping private clubs, each with its own rules and level of intimacy. Sensorially, it is the opposite of a noisy feed. Very little that is visible, but every story that does appear carries the feeling of this was not meant for just anyone. Fresh narrative angle frame this behavior as the digital version of old-school private members clubs. The social network becomes a building. You only see what is being served in the room you were actually invited. Strategic silence, using social as radar, not stage. The final block is the most counterintuitive. In many high-income segments, the truly sophisticated behavior is strategic silence. Studies with affluent consumers show that they remain engaged with luxury brands on social, following, observing, comparing, but do not always interact in obvious ways. Global research with high-income consumers in 2024 indicates that the 18 to 39 age group follows brands much more intensely, while older consumers prefer more discreet engagement. Technically, this means using social platforms as an intelligence tool, watching brands, creators, consumption trends, destinations, investment opportunities, without necessarily commenting, liking, or reposting. Many UHNW individuals and their families leave active presence to brands, communications teams, or younger relatives, while they themselves remain in shadow mode. They watch everything and say almost nothing. The closing curiosity. Part of the elite that actually makes big decisions in the world is online all the time. You just do not see them because they chose not to perform there. Sensorially, this behavior is invisible. No stories, few photos posted, maybe a discrete avatar. But behind it,
digital detox as silent status. While the average user prides themselves on a screen always on, the elite begins to use the opposite as a symbol, disappearing from social by choice in digital detox cycles. Studies have shown since at least 2018 that around 1 in 5 consumers try some form of digital detox, and research from 2023 to 2025 reinforces that planned breaks improve sleep, well-being, life satisfaction, and reduce stress. Technically, this behavior is not deleting your account in a meltdown. It is announcing that you will vanish for a period, organizing your team to maintain a minimal presence if you are a public figure, and then coming back with more focused content. Often, the detox is synchronized with wellness trips, retreats, or periods of intense creation. Social media switches into luxury airplane mode. The curiosity is that this gesture, which looks like weakness to the addicted user, is read as strength in upper circles. Those who can stay offline for days or weeks without losing relevance prove they do not depend on the algorithm to exist. Sensorially, this habit creates a strong contrast. Feeds that seem to breathe, with gaps between posts, captions talking about mental clarity instead of exhaustion. Fresh narrative angle. Portray detox not as escape, but as a luxurious act of control. In a world where everyone is chained to the screen, the real power is being able to
Reputation shielding, playing 2 moves ahead of cancellation. Cancel culture became the official ghost of the internet in the 2020s, and recent research shows its direct impact on the careers and images of influencers. Studies from 2023 to 2026 indicate that public scandals destroy perceptions of authenticity and trust, forcing creators and brands to rebuild their identities with extreme caution. Luxury behavior on social responds with reputation shielding. Constant monitoring of comments, risk analysis before every post, language crafted with the help of PR teams, lawyers, and crisis specialists. Even apologies become a product. Tone, timing, and format, video, statement, live, are all calculated to contain damage without sounding overly scripted. The rarely discussed curiosity is that many high-exposure profiles start turning down campaigns, jokes, or opinions that would drive easy engagement simply because the reputational risk is too high. Sensorially, you sense this behavior in what is missing. Controversial topics ignored, silence in heated debates, captions that are carefully neutral. Fresh narrative angle. Instead of talking only about fear of cancellation, reveal the cold engineering behind a spotless image, an invisible luxury that includes consultants, meetings, and post versions that never see the light of the feed.
Philanthropy as narrative, not receipt. Another behavior growing between 2024 and 2026 is using social platforms to showcase philanthropy, but in increasingly sophisticated ways. Studies on signaling in social media show that organizations investing in strong visual communication, especially socially rich photographs, manage to generate more empathy and donations. In parallel, reports highlight the rise of influencer philanthropy, creators and public figures using their platforms to mobilize donations, especially among young audiences. Technically, luxury behavior here goes beyond posting a donation receipt or a photo with a giant check. It is about building storytelling, showing the project, the community, the people impacted,
using images that convey human connection rather than just misery or self-promotion. Often, the donor's face does not even appear. The protagonists are those receiving support. The curiosity is that this kind of content works on multiple levels: real help, reputation building around social responsibility, and differentiation in the middle of egocentric feeds. Sensorially, the impact is different. Photos of hands held, genuine smiles, captions that explain context, all of it creating warmth instead of envy. Fresh narrative angle. Frame philanthropy not as image washing, but as a new form of moral flex. Instead of flaunting only what they own, the luxury is to flaunt what they give back.
Feed as intellectual curation, not just life showcase. The average user relies on social for quick entertainment. A fraction of the elite is starting to use the feed as an intellectual living room. Reports on the future of luxury indicate that high-income consumers increasingly demand meaningful storytelling, purpose, and depth from the brands they engage with. And the same pattern transfers to individuals. It is no longer enough to show where you have been. You need to show what you think. Technically, this behavior appears in three formats: sharing readings, books, articles, papers, commenting on art and culture, and offering personal perspectives on technology, sustainability, politics, or business, always with enough care not to become preachy. Instead of empty captions, you see mini essays, threads, explanatory reels, lives with expert guests. The curiosity is that in many circles, this kind of intellectual presence starts to count more as a status signal than the classic outfit of the day. It feels less juvenile, more adult, more powerful. Sensorially, this person's feed has a different texture: less mole shine, more highlighted book passages, screenshots of excerpts, photos of a table with a notebook and coffee. Fresh narrative angle. Show that at the top of luxury social media behavior, the main object on display is no longer just the body or the closet. It becomes the brain.